一枚枚中华神盾捍卫着祖国的国防安全，一双双爱国之眼在顾春燕的手中被轻轻点亮。
The kingdom of heaven is like a king who prepared a wedding banquet for his son. He sent his servants to those who had been invited to the banquet to tell them to come, but they refused to come. Then he sent some more servants and said, "Tell those who have been invited that I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle have been butchered, but and everything is ready. Come to the wedding banquet." But they paid no attention and went off, one to his field, another to his business. The rest seized his servants, mistreated them, and killed them. The king was enraged. He sent his army and destroyed those murderers and burned their city. Then he said to his servants, "The wedding banquet is ready, but those I invited did not deserve to come. So go to the street corners and invite to the banquet anyone you find." So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, the bad as well as the good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in and see the guests, he noticed a man there who was not wearing wedding clothes. He asked, "How did you get in here without wedding clothes, friend?" The man was speechless. Then the king told the attendants, tie him hand and foot, and throw him outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. For many are invited, but few are chosen. You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me? Show me the coin used for paying the tax. Whose image is this, and whose inscription? So give back to cancer what is cancer's, and to God what is God's. You are in error because you do not know the scriptures or the power of God. At the restriction, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. But about the restriction of the dead, have you not read what God said to you? I'm the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and the greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets long hung on these two commandments. What do you think about the Messiah? Whose son is he? How is it then? How is it then that David, speaking by the Spirit, calls him Lord? For he says, "The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I put your enemy unto your feet." If then David calls him Lord, how can he be his son? The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sat in Moses' seat. So you must be careful do to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome laws and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi by others. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all brothers, all and do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one father, and he is in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! You travel over land and sea to win a single convert, and when you have succeeded, you make them twice as much a child of hell as you are. Woe to you, blind guides! You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But anyone who swears by the God of temple is bound by that oath. You blind fools! Which is greater, the gold, or the temple that makes the gold sacred? You also say, if anyone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But anyone who swears by the gift on the altar is bound by that oath. You blind man, which is greater, the gift, or the altar that makes the gift scare sacred? Therefore, anyone who swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it. And anyone who swears by the temple swears by it and by the one who dwells in it. And anyone who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! You give a tenth of your spices, myrrh, dill, and cumin, but you have neglected the but you have neglected the more important matters of the law: justice, mercy, and faithfulness. You should have practiced the latter without neglecting the former. You blind guides, you strain out a genet, but swallow a camel. Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! And you clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside you are full of glitter and indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and the dish, and then the outside also will be clean. Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like a whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the side you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Woe to you, teachers of the law and the Pharisees! You hypocrites! You blind! You build tombs for the prophets and decorated the graves of the righteous. And you say, if we have lived in the days of our ancestors, we would not have taken part with them in um, sh- shedding the shedding the blood of Pharisees. So you testi- so you testify against yourselves that you are the descendants of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead then and com- complete what your ancestor started. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore, I'm sending you prophets and sages and teachers. Some of them you will kill and crucify. Others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town to town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah, Zechariah son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I tell you, all truly I tell you, I tell you, all this will come on this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you who killed the prophets and stoned those who uh, sent to you. How often I have longed to gather your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Look, your house is left to you desolate. So I tell you, you will not see me again until you say, Blessed is the who comes in the name of the Lord. Do you see all these things? Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. We shout with that no one diseases, the service, the service, which out that no one disservice you, for many will come in my name, claiming I'm the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see, but but see to, but see to it, that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end, but the end is, but the end, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people because of the increase of wickedness. The love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophet prophet Daniel. Let the leader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the top housetop. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful! mm, How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant woman and nursing uh, wom- woman. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be greater distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again. If those days, if those days had not if those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. No one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," oh, there he is. Do not believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform greater signs and wonders to de- deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is, out in the wilderness," do not go out. Or, "Here he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of the Man. Where wherever there is a uh, cas, car, carcass, uh, ca- carcass, wherever there is a carcass, there the virtuous, there the virtuous will gather. Wherever there is a carcass, where the virtuous will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will Then will appear the sign of man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and greater glory. And he will send his angels with the loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. How learn this lesson from the fig tree? As soon as its triggers get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass. Do you see all these things? Truly I tell you, not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. Watch out that no one deceives you. For many will come in my name, claiming I'm the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear the wars and the rumors of war, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom will against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquake in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. All that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people because of the increase of wickedness. The love of most will grow cold. But the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation, spoken of through the prophets Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the house housetop. Let no one on the housetop go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for a pregnant woman and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be greater distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be it again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," oh, there he is. Do not believe it. For false Messiah and false prophets will appear and perform greater signs and wonder to deceive. Uh, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "Here he is out of the wilderness," do not go out. Or, "Here he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the virtuous will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The star will fall from sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. Then will appear the sign of Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and greater glory, and he will send his angels with a louder trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four wides from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its triggers get tender and its leaves comes out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my word not never pass away. But about that time or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father, as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the blood, people will eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. Two men will be in the field. One will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding with a hand mill. One will be taken and the other left. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who when is the faithful and the wise servant, whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household, to give them their food at the proper time. It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. Truly I tell you, he will put him in charge of all these positions. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, My master is standing away a long time, and he will then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkard. The master of that servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. Five of them were foolish, and five were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him. Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, Give us some of your oil. Our lamps are going out. No, they replied. There will not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves. But while they were all on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later the others also came. Lord, Lord, they said, open the door of us. Open the door for us. But he replied, Truly I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour. The hour. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealthy to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled the account with them. The man who had received 5 bags, 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. With a few things, I will put you in charge of many things. Come and show your master's happiness. happiness. The man with the two beggars of God also came. Master, he said, your an your interest your interest me you interested me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. The master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and show your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of goods came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your God in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered the seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glory, glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a separate separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, uh, you who are blessed by my father, take your inheritance. The kingdom prepared for you since the creating of the world. For I was hungry, and you give me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was stronger, and you invited me. I was stronger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you stronger and invite you in, or needy clothes and clothe you? When did you see your sick and or prison or and when did you see you sick? When did you see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of least of this brother or sister of mine, you did for me. Then he will say to those on his left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was stronger, and you did not invite me in. I needed I needed clothes, and you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, and you did not look after me. They also will answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or stranger or needing clothes or sick or in prison and did not help you? He will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of this or of list of this you did not do for me. Then they will go away to eternal punishment. But the righteous, but the righteous to eternal life. As you know, the Passover, as you know, the Passover is 2 days away, and the Son of Man will be handed over to be crucified. Why are you bothering this woman? He has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, but you will not always have me. When he poured this perfume on my body, he did it to prepare me for burial. Truly I tell you, wherever this gospel is preached throughout the world, what he has done will also be told in memorial of her. Going to the city to a certain man and tell him, the teacher says, my appointed time is near. I'm going to celebrate the Passover with my disciples at your house. Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me. The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me. The Son of Man will go just as it is written about him, but woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It will be better for him if he had not been born. You have said so. Take and eat. This is my body. Drink from it, all of you. This is my blood of the covenant, which is the poured out for many for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I will not drink from this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. This very night, this very night, you will all fall away on account of me, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee. Truly I tell you, this very night, before the roosters crows, you will disown me 3 times. Sit here while I go over there and pray. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me. My father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will. Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour? Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. My father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done. Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer. Do what you came for, friend. Put your sword back in its place. For all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels. But how then would the script, scriptures be fulfilled that say it must happen in this way? Am I leading a rebellion that you have come out with swords and clubs to capture me? Every day I sat in the temple courts teaching, and you did not arrest me. But this has all taken place that the writing of the prophets might be fulfilled. You have said so, but I say to all of you, from now on, you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Mighty One and coming on the clouds of heaven. Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. Be- Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. You have said so. Ella, Ella, lema sabachthani. My God, why have you forsaken me? Greetings. Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. Gal, Gal, Galilee. There they will see me. There they will see me. All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age, to the very end of the age.